I have zero interest in arguing with people in a YouTube comment section, man, so here's this video. Background on this, I made this video, Self-Prop 12, and it's all about how I think that RFK's anti-vax stance is a sham and that he is likely going to be doing this thing where he comes out with this whole, well, vaxes definitely do cause autism, but guess what? We have these new vaccines that are autism-free. Guarantee it. All right, so anyway, I made a video that had absolutely nothing to do with like the COVID vax, but for some reason this guy went off on the COVID vax and ended up saying, what you're going to have to do is provide proof here that 60 million in the U.S. alone that did not have any jabs are worse off than that choose to participate. Anyway, so what I am gathering from this person is that if I can't prove that 60 million people somehow benefited from the COVID vaccine or whatever, that they are now going to assume that the measles vaccine causes autism. But anyway, anti-vax logic, man, they're out there. By the way, the thing that I replied to him with initially was that this episode of Penn and Teller's bullshit is the best the best propaganda that is pro-vaccination that I have ever seen. They laid out the argument pretty dang decently. Their initial argument that you see here is based off of probability. It is more probable that you are going to get a deadly disease and die than it is that you are going to get autism from getting a vaccine. Right now in the U.S., we're having a measles outbreak. A couple of kids have died here in Texas in this past few months, all because jerks don't want to get vaccinated from things that we know are deadly communicable diseases. There's these people out there who are also going on and saying that, well, because the vaccines aren't 100% effective at stopping the disease, then therefore I'm not going to take it. Fool, that is ridiculous. Base your decisions off of probability, not possibility. It is way more probable that if your dog is bit by a skunk and is not vaccinated against rabies, that they are going to catch rabies and end up passing it along to another animal, possibly you, than it is for your dog to have a negative health consequence from getting the rabies vaccination. Look, man, I'm surrounded by people who do things like suggest that you take colloidal silver, and I've even met people who actually eat horse paste, but they won't listen to their frickin' doctors, all because of this ridiculous disinformation campaign that is out there. You have people like RFK who have gone through and just spread utter nonsense over and over again. It's this infectious distrust of authority, of educational authority, that these people have just spread into our populace, and it's causing us real harm. And I'm not just talking about the people who are just anti-vax or taking ivermectin instead of getting a... For example, there's been this rise in people wanting to drink raw milk, which is just raw, unpasteurized milk. And there's so many ridiculous claims out there that it somehow has like way better health benefits, and that it's just so much better for you, way more nutritious, all of this ridiculous stuff. And then you'll have the people who say, well, you know, it's fine as long as you boil it. And it's like, hey, yeah, okay. But most people who drink it are most likely not going to boil it. So we should have food safety standards and not allow this petri dish that is raw milk to be spread out amongst everybody. Like, what teenager is going to boil milk before they drink it at a convenience store? Anyway, the reason why you shouldn't go through and just ingest things that might potentially get you sick or have a very high probability of getting you sick is because diseases spread. Evolution exists. If you get something and you're sick with it, it is going to evolve inside of you. And then whenever you pass it on, that new version of whatever that pathogen is going to spread like wildfire. That's how this works. The best course of action is to prevent the pathogen from ever being able to infect you in the first place. All right, now to finally address this YouTube comment. The fact that the COVID drugs quite obviously failed to offer immunity to anything renders the term anti-vax moot and irrelevant when used in that context. The context that I use the word anti-vax is to describe RFK's position on vaccines that he has maintained for over 20 years at this point. He has gone on multiple podcasts and he has said that there is likely a link between causing autism and vaccinations. That right there is what it means to be anti vax. It means to ignore evidence, ignore the experts, assert that you are actually an expert in a field that you have no grounding in whatsoever. RFK is a lawyer, not a doctor, definitely not a pathologist. And I don't really even understand the second comment that came along after this, which was what you're going to have to do is provide proof of that the 60 million over in the US alone that had no way. Dude, what the hell are you talking about, buddy? Like, I just don't understand the flow of the argument or the questioning or the comments or anything. Um, yeah, like, do I need to prove to you that 60 million in the US alone benefited from the jab in order for you to understand the term anti vax or to understand that RFK, the context of my video, which is that RFK is likely going to come out and say that vaccines definitely do cause autism, and they are going to then say, hey, we have this new vaccine that doesn't cause autism, and it just so happens that my buddy owns stock in that company, but don't worry about that at all. Like, I I like logic. Um, and think I think that a large portion, well, not a large portion, but a not insignificant number of American citizens I don't think that they are able to accurately determine a logical flow of ideas. All right, so the logic of this possibility versus probability. It is possible that vaccines have something to do with causing autism, but it's not probable. It's far more probable that the rise in diagnoses of autism have something to do with the fact that the term didn't exist until the 1950s. And that even after that term existed, the majority of diagnoses for people who had some sort of a mental problem was, well, they're crazy. Let's put them inside of an insane asylum. And it's far more probable that the rise in diagnoses of autism over the past 20 years have more to do with the fact that our health insurance system makes it to where you have to get a diagnosis or a referral from a doctor in order to go see an expert in order to determine what is going on. It's also way more probable that the rise in diagnoses has to do with the fact that medicine is now better equipped and adapted to be able to diagnose people with autism instead of just saying generically, something wrong with you. And it's far more probable that your child will die of a communicable disease that is preventable through a vaccine than it is for them to have a negative consequence from taking said vaccine. In general, I believe in letting people do what they will so long as it doesn't affect other people. But diseases, you getting a communicable disease and spreading it, that affects other people. If you were a hermit living in the middle of nowhere, cool, bravo, do what you want. You're not that. People aren't that. We have to have health standards